Imagine for a second that you send out 100 job applications and you get rejected by 99 of them.
Ouch. Yeah, that sounds completely brutal.
Right. I mean, most people would look at that track record and just feel totally defeated. But imagine your career coach looking at those 99 rejections, nodding, and saying, well, perfect. You are right on schedule.
That is wild.
It really is. Today, we're diving into a program that essentially mandates failure and rejection as a prerequisite for success. Welcome to this deep dive.
Glad to be here for this one. It's an interesting topic.
Our mission today is to completely dissect the promotional and informational materials for something called the Fully Booked VA program. We're going to look under the hood of their step-by-step roadmap, to uncover exactly how they claim to take total beginners and turn them into thriving, fully booked virtual assistants.
It is a massive promise. And frankly, it's a bold one, given how crowded the remote workspace feels today. What we are really examining here is a system that attempts to remove the guesswork for people trying to carve out their own slice of the digital gig economy.
Yeah, totally.
And they do it by treating freelancing less like an art and much more like an industrial process.
Let me throw an analogy at this to set the stage. Trying to start a freelance service business without a blueprint is essentially like trying to build a massive, incredibly complicated piece of IKEA furniture without the manual.
Oh, I hate doing it.
It's the worst, right? You open the box, you look at all the pieces, and in this case, those pieces are your actual skills, the things you already know how to do. You've got the wooden pegs, the weird little Allen wrench.
Yep, the little metal tool that hurts your hand.
Exactly. But without those step-by-step instructions telling you which piece connects to what, you inevitably end up building this incredibly wobbly table. And in business terms, that wobbly table represents highly inconsistent income and just a mountain of frustration.
That paints the picture perfectly. But, if we want to take that analogy even further, you aren't just assembling a prefabricated table. Running a sustainable virtual assistant business is, well, it's more like being a general contractor on a digital construction site.
Oh, I like that. How so?
What you have to know how to bid for the job, manage the client's expectations, do the actual labor, and handle the invoicing. It's a lot of hats to wear. And if we look at the broader context of the modern workforce, the entire concept of a virtual assistant has undergone a radical evolution.
Oh, for sure. It's not just answering phones anymore.
Right. Remote work is no longer a fun perk. It is the absolute norm. The definition of a VA has expanded dramatically beyond just, answering emails. It really just boils down to trading your time or specific tasks for pay from afar.
Which is such a broad category when you think about it.
Exactly. The fundamental gap this program is trying to bridge is the massive psychological and practical void between merely possessing a marketable skill and actually running a viable business.
Which is why, for you listening right now, this breakdown is so relevant. Whether you're looking to spin up a side hustle to pay off a little debt, or maybe on an entirely new career, or honestly, even if you are just insanely curious about the underlying mechanics of how these online service businesses actually scale, this is going to be illuminating.
It really is a fascinating ecosystem they've built.
But before we even touch the nuts and bolts of the curriculum, we have to look at the psychological starting line that this program identifies for its students. Because the sources point out that since 2014, they have helped over 12,000 virtual assistants.
Yeah, and 12,000 students is a massive sample size of human behavior. It gives them a very clear picture of where people freeze up.
Right. And they use that data to confront beginner worries right out of the gate. The materials highlight the same recurring questions. Things like, do I actually have the skills? Or how in the world will I get clients?
Panic questions, basically.
Exactly. And then, can I replace my salary? And the loudest one of all, what if I try and fail?
The way they address that fear is by systematically dismantling the myth of the business genius. Their core philosophy is that prospective students do not lack some magical elite skill set.
No MBA required.
Right, you do not need an obscure, expensive business degree. The program insists that you already possess at least one quote-unquote profit skill right now. The missing ingredient is not your capability, it is your lack of a system for application.
I have to challenge that premise, though. I mean, it sounds great on a sales page, but if literally everyone already has a profit skill just sitting in their brain waiting to be monetized, why do so many people struggle to make a single dime online?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right. I mean, the internet is practically a graveyard of failed freelance attempts.
It is, and that is the critical tension in this entire industry. The program's argument, based on the materials, is that access to information is absolutely not the problem. Think about it. You can just Google how to manage a social media account.
Yeah, there are a million free YouTube videos on that.
Exactly. You can watch a free tutorial on basic bookkeeping. What people actually struggle with is visibility and application. They have the raw skill, but they have zero clue how to package that knowledge into a coherent service, put a price tag on it, and, confidently place it in front of someone who actually has a budget to pay for it.
The sources actually back that up with some pretty striking success stories. Take Debbie Deschamps. The material highlights that within a few weeks of starting, she simply announced her new business to her network on Facebook.
Just a Facebook post.
Yeah. She didn't spend 6 months perfecting a logo or building a complex website. She just made herself visible, and the very next day, she landed her first client.
That's incredible turnaround time.
Right. And today, she specializes in customer data and supports 5 different real estate agents. Then you look at Laura Villahujinako. She went from just vaguely toying with the idea of offering services to landing 3 clients and literally running a multi-person agency in less than a year.
Notice how different those two examples are, though. This highlights exactly how the program is aggressively broadening the definition of a virtual assistant.
Oh, totally. Real estate data versus a full agency.
Exactly. A decade ago, a VA was strictly an administrative assistant who happened to be off-site, someone managing a calendar or routing phone calls. But by expanding the umbrella to include writing, social media management, graphic creation, accounting, and in Debbie's case, real estate customer data, they significantly lower the barrier to entry.
It makes it seem a lot more attainable.
It does. It forces a mindset shift from, I need to learn how to be a secretary, to I need to figure out how to monetize what I already know how to do.
But knowing you need to monetize a skill and actually doing it are like 2 different universes.
Hey,
If taking action and applying yourself is the missing link, a loose collection of tips isn't going to cut it. You need serious, rigid structure.
you really do.
And that brings us to the mechanics of their highly structured 4-phase learning path.
It is a very deliberate scaffolding. They don't just dump a PDF in your inbox and wish you luck.
No, not at all. Phase 1 is called Build Your Foundation. This centers on a core curriculum called the Fully Booked Foundations course, which is paired with weekly group coaching. And the whole thing culminates in a final exam.
An actual test.
Yeah, and if you pass, you officially become a certified fully booked VA. Now, the materials say the time frame is designed for about 12 weeks. But because students get lifetime access, they note that some people absolutely blitz through it in a single weekend while others take months.
A single weekend.
That's what they say. Look, if I try to absorb a comprehensive business setup course in 48 hours, my brain would melt. Are they really building a strong foundation in a weekend, or are people just clicking next on videos as fast as possible to get a certification badge?
It's a totally valid concern with any self-paced digital learning. The temptation to sprint to the finish line is huge. But if we look closely at the structure, that is exactly why the certification exam exists at the end of Phase 1.
So it's kind of a fail-safe.
Exactly. It acts as a vital quality control gatekeeper. Sure, you can watch the videos at double speed on a Saturday. But if you haven't actually absorbed the mechanics of how to legally set up the business, how to structure your offers, and how to manage your time, you just won't pass the exam. It enforces a baseline of competency before they let you loose into Phase 2.
Okay, so the badge actually has to be earned. That makes Phase 2 much more interesting. Once you pass, you move into create a sales machine.
Now we're getting into the hard part.
Right, because this isn't about setting up a pretty website. It is a 5-part sales intensive that focuses heavily on outreach strategies, visibility practices, and discovery calls.
Discovery calls.
Yeah, and for anyone unfamiliar, a discovery call is essentially that first terrifying professional date with a potential client where you both try to figure out if you're a good fit without being too awkward about money.
It's extremely awkward for beginners.
So awkward. But the coolest part of Phase 2 is that they include over-the-shoulder training.
That over-the-shoulder aspect is arguably the most valuable mechanism in this entire phase.
Yeah.
Neurologically and psychologically, watching someone else perform a high-stress task removes so much of the mystery.
It's like a sales laboratory. You aren't just reading a textbook chapter that says, be confident when stating your price. You are literally watching an expert conduct a mock or real discovery call.
You see the nuance.
Exactly. You get to observe their cadence, their tone, how they handle awkward pauses, and the exact phrasing they use when a client pushes back on their rate. It bridges that gap between knowing what to do and knowing what it actually looks like in practice.
And once you master that initial sales hurdle, phase 3 is specialize and scale. Because if you stay a generalist forever, just taking any random job that comes your way, you will inevitably burn out.
Oh, 100%. You can't do everything for everyone.
Right. This phase gives students access to updated skills courses and deep training on service positioning. Service positioning is really about framing your value.
Can you give an example of that?
Sure. Instead of saying, I do social media management, which sounds like a cheap commodity, you position yourself by saying, I help local dental practices generate new patient leads through targeted Facebook content.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that sounds way more expensive.
Exactly. It is all about refining what you offer so you can justify raising your rates and scale your income without working 20 hours a day.
Which leads perfectly to the final tier. Phase 4 is mastery and mentorship. They introduce an online business specialization program. And here is a fascinating twist. You get the opportunity to apply for their fully booked agency.
This right here elevates the program from a simple educational course into an actual career pipeline.
Yeah, because it's real work.
Exactly. If you're accepted into the agency, you go through a rigorous interview process. Once inside, you get direct mentorship and receive paid, project-based work inside real, established online businesses. When you lay all 4 phases out sequentially, it perfectly mimics a compressed corporate career trajectory.
Let's unpack that because it really does.
Well, think of phase 1 as your foundational university education. You are just getting your degree and learning the theory.
Right.
Phase 2 is that gritty, entry-level sales hustle, where you have to prove you can actually bring in revenue and survive rejection.
Paying your dues.
Exactly. Phase 3 is your mid-career specialization, where you become a highly paid expert in a specific niche. And phase 4, that is the equivalent of making partner at a firm, where you have proven your worth and are now trusted with high-level vetted clients.
But sustaining that kind of trajectory requires massive ongoing infrastructure. You don't just build a 4-phase system with an internal agency and group coaching on a shoestring budget. This brings us to the financial reality of the ecosystem, what that money actually buys the student, and a deeply revealing refund policy.
Let's look at the financial commitment first, because it's not insignificant. The pricing structure is tiered. It's $129 per month, or you can pay $349 per quarter. Alternatively, you can commit to a full year for $1,238.
Yeah, that is a significant investment for someone who might just be starting out or looking for a side hustle.
It is. But for that price, they are bundling an entire microeconomy. It's not just video modules. Once you are certified, you get access to exclusive client leads.
Which is huge.
It's a massive selling point because these are business owners actively looking to hire from inside this specific trained talent pool. They know they are getting someone who actually passed the exam. Students also get done-for-you templates, pitch scripts, rate calculators, and a private, distraction-free member community away from all the noise of regular social media.
The visibility opportunities they engineer are also incredibly strategic. They publish a quarterly digital magazine called The Profile. They run a podcast called Time for Money, where successful students can appear as guests to build their authority, and they host an annual virtual summit.
It's basically a self-contained industry.
Totally. They even organize an annual job fair, which is just a brilliant mechanism. In a digital microeconomy, a virtual job fair acts as a highly curated matchmaking service. It directly connects business owners who have immediate needs with certified experts who have the exact skills required.
Yeah.
And they also maintain a public VA directory.
And fueling all of this is their internal coaching team. The sources highlight 3 key figures that run this ecosystem. You have Stephanie Hayes, the CEO, who brings over 25 years of experience in helping solo business owners scale.
That's a lot of experience.
Right. Then there's Laura Nichols, who serves as the content manager and a coach. Her story is great because she is actually a former student of the program. She left a career in mental health back in 2017 to start her own freelance business, so she knows the exact journey the students are on.
I love that. And then there is Marisa Raymond, the community manager and mindset coach. And her background is what really caught my attention here. She is a certified life and business coach, a yoga teacher, and get this, a genetic counselor.
That stood out to me too. The fact that they have a genetic counselor serving as a mindset coach is incredibly telling about the reality of freelancing.
Wait, how so?
Think about what a genetic counselor actually does. They are trained to deliver complex, often highly emotional, and life-altering information to people. They have to master empathy, emotional regulation, and deep psychological resilience.
Oh, wow. When you put it like that, it makes perfect sense. because freelancing is an absolute emotional roller coaster.
It really is.
You need someone who deeply understands human psychology when, a client sends a nasty email or a big contract falls through, or you are just totally paralyzed by imposter syndrome.
Exactly. It reinforces their core philosophy that valuable skills are highly transferable. If you have the analytical and communication skills required for genetic counseling, you definitely possess elite profit skills for the digital business world. The diversity of the coaching staff proves that virtual assistants don't just come from administrative backgrounds.
However, the coaches and the curated job fairs can really only take a student so far. Which brings us to the most intense, and I think honestly the most honest part of this entire deep dive, the refund policy. Or, well, more accurately, the guarantee.
This is where the rubber meets the road.
It really is. Because of the nature of digital products, they state up front that there are strictly no refunds. However, they do have a policy for offering additional specialized support if a student hasn't made their initial investment back. But the hoops you have to jump through to qualify for that help are painstakingly specific.
I had to read this section of the source material twice.
Me too. To even ask for that additional support, you first have to successfully complete the foundations course and pass the certification exam, which, okay, that is totally reasonable, but then you are required to submit an editable pitch tracker spreadsheet.
This is the crazy part.
Yeah. And this spreadsheet must prove, with hard data, that you have sent a minimum of 100 client pitches, including your follow-ups. 100. You have to provide documented evidence that you pitched 100 times and failed before they will step in to help you further.
That specific requirement is a masterclass in behavioral psychology. It strictly shifts the burden of success away from the curriculum and squarely onto the student's execution.
It's brilliant but terrifying.
They are communicating a very clear message. They're saying, we gave you the blueprint, we gave you the exact scripts, we gave you the community, but we cannot do the push-ups for you.
It exposes the unspoken, hard truth of this program and really of starting any independent business. It is a massive volume game. You cannot just pay the $129 monthly subscription, sit back, make a beautiful logo on Canva, and expect clients to magically seek you out.
That's the biggest misconception people have.
Right. This policy mandates that you face rejection potentially 99 times to earn your success. It actively forces a student to build a thick skin.
By setting the metric for intervention at 100 pitches, they completely gamify the hustle and normalize rejection.
Gamify the hustle. I like that phrasing.
Think about it. If a new student sends out 20 pitches and gets 20 no's, they might normally feel like a total failure and just quit. But under this framework, they aren't failing. They are simply 20% of the way through the required data collection process.
Oh, that's such a good reframe.
It takes the emotional sting out of a rejection. A no just becomes a data point on a spreadsheet, bringing them closer to the 100 mark.
That reframing is so powerful. It changes the goal from I need a client today to I need to hit my pitch quota this week. So bringing all of this together to summarize what we've extracted from these materials today, the Fully Booked VA program is clearly not a passive sit-back-and-watch course.
Not at all.
It is an aggressively action-oriented, four-phase ecosystem. It combines that foundational education with heavy community support and an internal lead generation machine. But ultimately, it demands rigorous personal accountability. If you want the results they advertise, you have to embrace the friction and send the 100 pitches.
It provides the comprehensive blueprint for the digital construction site we talked about at the beginning, but you still have to put on the hard hat and hammer the nails yourself.
Exactly. And for you listening, even if you never, ever plan to become a virtual assistant or freelance in any capacity, the core lesson hidden in these promotional materials is universally applicable to almost any modern career. Having a skill, whether you're good at writing, accounting, graphic design, or coding, is only about 10% of the equation.
That is the hard truth.
It really is. Having a resilient system to package, pitch, and confidently sell that skill is the other 90%. By the way, the sources do note that the program offers a free list of over 275 viable services in exchange for an email opt-in. So if you're just curious to see what random skills the market is actually paying for right now, that is out there.
That 90-10 split between having a skill and knowing how to sell it is exactly why an ecosystem like this exists in the first place. But looking at the mechanics of this program raises a much larger frankly, existential question that goes beyond their current curriculum.
Oh, where are we going with
Well,
this?
we have talked extensively about how the program insists everyone has at least one human profit skill right now, but we are currently standing on the edge of a massive technological shift.
Ah, the artificial intelligence factor.
Precisely. As AI continues to rapidly automate basic digital tasks at near zero cost, things like calendar scheduling, basic copywriting, transcribing, and data entry, will the very definition of a profit skill for a virtual assistant have to radically change in the next 3 to 5 years.
That's a scary thought for a lot of people.
It is. If an AI can write a customized social media calendar in 3 seconds for fractions of a penny, what is the human virtual assistant actually selling?
That is a phenomenal question. I mean, they won't be able to sell just the task execution anymore. They will have to sell their strategic judgment or their empathy or their ability to manage the AI tools themselves.
Exactly. It leaves us with a critical thought to ponder. How will human virtual assistants and really all knowledge workers need to adapt, upskill, and reposition themselves to stay fully booked in an increasingly automated world?
That is the perfect thought to leave you with today. Because no matter how good the blueprint is right now, the tools we use to build our careers are changing faster than ever. We'll leave you to mull that over.